Great day, everyone. Great day, everyone. I want to welcome you to another episode of the Overnight Success Podcast. I'm your host, Diamond McNulty, founder and CEO of McNulty International, creator of the Success Club, author of How to Become a Successful Young Man, Woman, Success Recovery, and 12 Things Entrepreneurs Should Pray For. And you know, I love for you to join us inside the boardroom for the Overnight Success Podcast, where our focus is to do one thing and one thing only. That's to empower high schoolers and college students to succeed in life. And hopefully, in the process, we empower some adults as well, right? We want to let them know that anything is possible, no matter where they are in life. And today we have an amazing guest going to share her story, right? She is a business coach and strategist, a quality media consulting group, right? President and founder of Live Healthy and Thrive Youth Foundation, with over 30 years of experience in advertising, sales, and marketing. Let me bring her in, Dr. Lori Amans. Come on in. How you doing today, Doc?
I am excellent. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I am thrilled to be here on the Overnight Success Podcast.
Thank you for joining me. It's so special, especially with all of the wisdom and information that you have and just taking the time out to share with the youth, right? Because we're both passionate about seeing the youth succeed. So this is going to be a great one where we get a chance to share your journey. Before we get started, Doc, is there anything you want to share with our audience?
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me here. And I want to commend you for all the work that you're doing with young people to empower them to succeed in every area of their life. And anyone who's working with children and empowering children and educating them is okay in my book, because I have a passion for children and always have. And so I just want to say, you know, the children are the future. And so anytime we can pour into them and help them to achieve their goals so that they can be better leaders of tomorrow, I am all for it. So yes, I'm happy to be here.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for that. I greatly appreciate you, Doc. So just getting into your journey, because I know that our youth, they're going to be able to see themselves in certain aspects of everybody else's journey. So let's take it back to the beginning. Give us a little bit of insight of where were you born and raised, your family dynamics, all of that good stuff.
Well, I am originally from Michigan, the Detroit area. And my family moved to the South when I was 9 years old to Tuskegee, Alabama. And it was a culture shock, to say the least. For one thing, I had never seen red clay in my life until I came to the South. And I never saw a water bug till I came to the South.
Yeah.
So I went to high school at Tuskegee Institute High School back then. It doesn't exist anymore now. But yeah, I am a product of the 80s. So, you know, I grew up with Michael Jackson and Prince and Luther Vandross and, you know, Whitney Houston and all of them. So I went to school. I went to college at Auburn and majored in mass communications. And after that, I moved to Atlanta and pretty much been in Atlanta ever since. I moved away for 2 years to go to Tennessee, but came right back to Atlanta after that. And this is where I've been pretty much my entire adult life. And, you know, Atlanta is a special place for anybody really, but especially for African Americans trying to be in business and also trying to impact change and be the change they want to see. Atlanta is a good place for that. So yeah, that's kind of my story.
I love it. And now I love Atlanta. So, and here you are, right? You're coming up in Michigan. And as you mentioned, y'all transferred to the South, that red clay, you had to get your hands on it.
Yeah.
What kind of student were you in grammar school and high school? A's and B's?
Yeah, I was A's, B's, and C's. I'm gonna keep it real 100 because you know, I excelled in the subjects that I liked. And in the subjects that I didn't, I would, you know, not try as hard. And so I was really good with English, and I was good with history, because I was, always intrigued by history. And I was good with anything where I had to learn about speech and communications, because I loved that. And as a little girl, I would walk around with, a spatula in my hand, or my mom had these false fruit on our table, on our dining room table. And I would always have the banana in my hand, because I thought I wanted to be on TV and be a newscaster. So I went to school for journalism, and worked my first job at a TV station, and thought I was going to end up doing that, until they told me I had to move to a small town to get into the world of journalism. And so I was like, I'm a big city girl. I'm not going to no small town. And so it didn't work out for me. And then I also realized that, being on the spot and coming up, with questions to interview people was just not my thing. I was really more into the creative aspect of, how do people, decide to even spend money on media, and I wanted to find out more about the commercials and the aspects of production and all of that. And so that's how I ended up getting in sales and radio sales. And I did 19 years in that industry.
Wow. Talk about it, right? Talk about the information. I can only imagine what you've seen throughout your journey, even working with those type of companies. So here we are, right? So you're a student, you're figuring your way out. Did you have any mentors or anyone that poured into you at a young age that you were like, these are some people that I'm inspired by?
When it came to mentors, I did not have a lot of mentors when I was in elementary school. Of course, like a lot of people, I remember my favorite teacher. I remember a teacher who was just not only very kind and generous, but she seemed to always take a moment for each student. And her name was Miss Saunders. And she's probably gone on to heaven by now, but she was just very, very intent on letting students know that they could do anything, and she would take a moment out for her students just to encourage them. And if you were having a problem or raise your hand and didn't understand something, she would come to your desk and work with you until you got it. And so when it came to mentors, really for me, it was my mom and my dad. My mom and my dad were my mentors, because they were people who worked their entire lives. My mom ended up with, by the time she was in her 60s, she had 3 or 4 degrees, was a perpetual student, loved learning. She was also a teacher. And my dad was an entrepreneur, and he was in the school system as a bus driver for most of my life that I can remember. But he was also an entrepreneur and a businessman, and he always, had a business on the side. And so because of my dad, I was intrigued by entrepreneurship, and I learned about entrepreneurship, and it was always something I wanted to do in the back of my head, but I was kind of afraid to do it, So,
Gotcha.
When I was at the height of my career, I ended up getting downsized from my corporate job at one of the big radio conglomerates here in Atlanta. And that was in 2009. And I made up my mind then that I didn't want to give anybody else control over my income or my employment. So I started my own company, and, it hasn't always been easy, because entrepreneurship never is, an easy
Talk
road.
about it.
It's just starting a business and growing a business and sustaining a business. It's just not easy work, but it is you just got to do it and keep at it until you get it right, until you get to the point where you want it to be. And so after I've just been at it for a while, finally things are growing and moving along and profitable, and
Yes.
able to teach other people how to be profitable and get to 6 and 7 figures. So doing something good. Yeah.
And that speaks to the entire journey on how it works too, because you said, here you are, you had the microphone in your hand, you had the fruit, here you are practicing, and you decided to continue on that pathway into high school and college. Now, did you select journalism on your own, or did anyone
Counselor tell me. Well, I selected it on my own because it was just something I always wanted to do. And when I got to college, my counselor said, yeah, you definitely need to be, in front of the camera. And so I pursued that because, not only was it what I thought I wanted, but I was also told that I would be good at it. And so, but when you are starting out in journalism, to break into any market, you have to start small. You have to start in small towns typically, and be willing to work in small markets until you are in the business at least about 10 years. And so just for me, I just, going to high school at a small town, I was just like, I'm not with it.
Right. Hang
Out.
it up.
Yeah. So I was like, so, I like people. I like, being creative. And I was also intrigued about the sales side of the media industry. And then at that point, I was working for an advertising agency at the time. And this client of mine said, have you ever thought about going into sales? Because you have the gift of gab. And at that point, I didn't even know what she meant. And I was like, the gift of gab. And I said, what does that mean? She goes, you could just talk about any subject. You're just really versatile and you're really likable. And I think you would do good in sales. And I was like, never occurred to me, that I would do sales. And so when I thought about it, I said, well, if I did sales, it would have to have something to do with, the media industry, because that's what I've always wanted to do. And so she goes, well, you can sell radio or you can sell TV. Which one would it be? And I was like, okay, let me just see. And that's what happened. I went and interviewed at TV stations and radio stations, and the first offer I got was radio. And there I was.
Wow. Talk about it.
Yeah.
So sales is not easy, but it's honestly one of the greatest positions you can hold in general, because you can have a chance to create your own income to a degree that outnumbers anything you can do.
Absolutely. Because for almost 20 years, I worked as a 100% commission based sales rep. And, I was really in favor of it staying that way, because at one point our company was thinking about selling to another company. They had, salaries, and everybody was like, we don't want no salary.
No cap.
And when you are, used to selling commission and creating your own income, you get used to it. And especially if you're good at it, you want to stay that way, because, that means nobody can tell you how much money you can make, and you can write your own ticket basically. And that's what I did. And I loved it. And I made, a lot of money.
Yes. That's awesome. Now, when you look at it, what has been some of the biggest challenges in your career, and how did you overcome them?
I would say one of the biggest challenges I had in my career was learning how to play the game. And I'm just going to be honest. So what I mean by playing the game is, in corporate America, and even in business and entrepreneurship, when someone talks about, quote, playing the game, they're talking about understanding that you have to not only sell internally, but you have to sell externally. And in any corporation, in any company, there's a hierarchy, right? There's the people at the top, the people in the middle, and the people at the bottom. And the people at the top are making the decisions, right? Yeah. And so those people need to know that you are valuable. They need to know that you're excited about your job. They need to know that you're invested in the company, that you're a team player. They need to know what your latest successes are. And you really have to learn how to create alliances with people at every level in the company, If you are an employee, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
are the employer, then you still have to play the game because you're going to have to need a staff and a team of people because nobody can succeed and create a multi-million dollar or multi-billion dollar business alone. You just can't
No,
do it.
not at all. You need a team.
You
Mm-hmm.
need a team. So you're going to have to play within the levels, even within your own team, to get people to follow you, to get people to buy into your vision, and to get people to want to go to bat for you, go to the extra mile for you. And so that's what they mean, when they say play the game. And so, because I was always of the mindset where, you know what, I'm doing my job. My work should speak for itself. But the bottom line is, you have to tell people, remind people, hey, you know what, did you see that such and such I did?
Mm-hmm.
And can I tell you about how it solved this problem and how it helped this group of people? And I'd love to get your feedback on that. And that's when, it's not just coming out as you're tooting your own horn, but you're saying, hey, look, I thought it was pretty good, but tell me what you think. Is there anything that you see that I could have done better, that I could have done differently? And when you approach it from that standpoint, you're playing the game, right?
Yes.
Because you are, it's just like a football star, basketball star, soccer, whatever sport you want to play. Well, the coach is on the sideline for a reason because they can
Yeah.
see everybody on the field, or they can see
Mm-hmm.
everybody on the court, right?
Yeah.
But if you're not open to feedback, constructive criticism, and you're not telling the coach, hey, with that play that you told me to play, I did it well, but I was thinking maybe next time we could do this. You got to give feedback, and you got to just let the people at the top know, hey, I'm doing the best I can. Here's my excitement about whatever initiatives they've put out, and
Yes.
I'm willing to be a team player. But you
Yes.
got to be willing to listen to that coach or that guide or that mentor or whatever. And if you're the employer, you got to be willing to listen to your team because, that coach sees everybody on the field, but the team
Of
members
course.
also see what's right in front of them. They know the personalities and the dynamics of the people who they're faced with in the game. So that's why if you're a leader, you got to listen to your people. And if you're
Yeah.
one of the people that's working on the team, you got to be willing to, navigate the leadership and build relationships throughout the organization so that you can have a successful career.
Tell them about it. You got to play to win, like you're saying, too, and
Yeah.
continue to be coachable. And another thing that I love that you touched on was offering that value, creating that value. That value is so important because if
Yes.
you're not creating value, no matter what role you're in, then people
Yeah.
will notice you.
Yeah.
Is there any advice looking back right now that you would give a high school or college student that's well on their journey trying to figure things out?
I would always tell a high school or a college student to get a mentor, right? Get under somebody's wing and offer to volunteer, offer to be a sponge and soak up whatever knowledge they're willing to share with you. Because when you have an adult who you could trust, and that adult is in the industry that you are already wanting to, enter, and they've
Yes.
already had some success. And as long as they are a reputable adult, they're trustworthy, and they're somebody who has accomplished some things in their career, then learn from them. Get a mentor, get somebody that you can learn from. And that is going to go so far in your career because it's going to give you hands-on experience. And there's nothing that can replace that. Learning everything that you can learn in school with that textbook knowledge, that's going to be great. But
Yes.
hands-on experience, there is nothing like it. So go volunteer, be an intern. And even after your internship is over, find a mentor or somebody who you can volunteer for and just, try to go soak up as much knowledge as you can, because that's going to help you in your career. Not only will somebody probably see you and notice you, but just try to help and serve as much as you can,
Mhm.
because servant leadership is huge.
Yes.
Anytime somebody can look at you and see, you know what, they're a good leader because they're willing to serve. And like
Yes.
Dr. Martin Luther King said, anybody can serve, right?
Yes.
And it just takes a
Yes.
heart willing to give to be able to serve excellently.
Yes. And you hit it right on the head. That mentorship is so important. I've had a mentor in every area of my life, almost all of my life. and
Awesome.
it expedites your learning curve,
Yeah,
right? When you have someone that you can glean from in those moments, I can't tell you, especially when if you're coming from the bottom of the bottom, then you definitely want to expedite that. Hello, my name is Diamond McNulty, and I want to welcome you to the McNulty International Success Club, where we help youth and adults create their personal success plans to achieve their dreams in life. Visit McNultyInternational.com today and register. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of y'all inside the boardroom. Here on the Overnight Success Podcast, I try to tell our youth that things just don't happen overnight. Some of them are thinking about the microwave era where they want it like this. But we talk about the Overnight Success Podcast as things happening where you may have to put in that work overnight, right?
right.
Sometimes you got to put in that work. What were some of your overnight moments, success moments that you had to put in on your journey?
Well, I can think of a lot. You know, I run a advertising and marketing consulting firm,
Yes.
and I also run a nonprofit organization.
Hmm.
And when it comes to some things that I've had to do overnight, into the wee hours of the morning,
Yes.
uh, it's it's the sacrifice, right, of your time, your energy, and your effort. And so, as an entrepreneur, there have been times when I wanted to get other people to pay for something that I wanted to do.
Yes.
So that would require me to, research companies that would be aligned with my company and submit
Mhm.
sponsorship proposals to them, submit um, presentations to them, letters, what have you. So those things, a lot of that work, has to be done to get your foot in the door. And if you're somebody with, you're in a small business, you have a small staff, it may just be you and a couple other people or
Yeah.
what have you. Sometimes you have to work those, 10, 12-hour days. Sometimes you're so busy doing, the work on the business that you don't
Yeah.
stop and work, in the business. And so it requires that you, burn the midnight oil. And so doing
Yeah.
those kinds of grant applications, trying to get government grants, trying to get funding, some of those things require that you put in that long time. And so I've had to do that, and it's worked. I was only 2 years into my business and I got my first federal government contract. And I've pretty much had a government contract every year in my business since then. And
Yeah.
just learning how to complete contracts, learning how to, read them and submit on RFPs, which is,
Yes.
request for proposal. And, the same thing with running a nonprofit organization. I'm not going to use my money to run it. So I got to get other people to fund the dream, right? So writing grants and submitting sponsorship proposals, all of that stuff. Sometimes I'm doing it early in the morning or late at night, so it
Yes.
requires a lot of your time, energy, and effort uh, when you have a limited staff and or when you're really just that dedicated to the process and you want to make sure that it's done right. And
Yeah.
so I'm at the phase where I'm trying to grow now. I'm building my team and trying to get other people that I can mentor, teach, and train to do what I do.
Yes.
So
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
that's the I guess you could call it the testament of a real leader is when you can create other leaders, right? And
Mm.
deposit what you know into somebody else until they can go and duplicate your success. And that's what I'd like to leave behind. Is people who I've trained, taught, and mentored who are incredible at what they do because they learn
Yes.
from me.
Yes. And like we were talking already, and you guys have already empowered and supported thousands, right? Thousands of youth throughout their journey. So I can only imagine the impact on what they're going to do, because it's a ripple effect when you do put in the work, like you're saying, because you're doing something in purpose. You created this for a reason. Now, throughout your journey, Lori, have you dealt with any setbacks, or I call them setups, right? Because they're setting you up. They're setting you up, but in typical setbacks, have you ever dealt with anyone those, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah. So, as the president and founder of Live Healthy and Thrive Youth Foundation, one of the setbacks in the beginning was that we didn't have funding,
Mm,
right? And it was a setback because you can't go out there and help the community when you don't have any money, because everything costs money. And that's just the
mhm.
bottom line. So you run into going and asking these major corporations or trying to get federal funding. Well, just like you need that money, a whole bunch of other people need that money too. So it's
Yes.
competitive. And so a setback is when you want to implement something, you want to do something, or you have a
Mm,
goal that you want to achieve, and you have all these obstacles that are against you. And so for me, I wanted to implement our summer camp. I wanted to implement our garden program. And it looked like I wasn't going to be able to do any of that the first year. Well, of course, being the go getter that I am, I like to call myself a trailblazer because if it's not a way, I'm going to find a way. And so I, just started getting out there, knocking on doors, shaking hands, and doing everything I needed to do to build relationships with people to be able to, um, do the work that I wanted to do. And so we got partners with the kind of organizations and companies that would support the initiatives. And I'm proud to say that, just from going out there, networking and
yes.
making connections and meeting people and getting out there, I was able to create partnerships where we have gotten funding every year for our garden program. We've gotten funding every year for our summer camp, and we've gotten funding every year for our scholarship fund. So,
Come on, talk to him.
yeah.
So because there's so many nuggets, like you said, partnerships. So for the youth, right? If you're listening, relationships matter, right? Connecting with the right people, as you're saying, showing up, knocking on doors, being willing to put in the work, all of these. Oh, you're touching on all of it. And I
Yeah.
want our youth to understand this is what it takes in order for you to achieve any goal that you set forth for yourself. Um, Lori, what's your favorite part of doing what you do, just in general?
I would say the favorite part for me is just impacting lives. I love to help people. I've been a helper. As a kid, I was always the one helping, my mom in the kitchen. So I love just helping. And I also, through my parents, learned to volunteer early. And
Mm,
so I've been a volunteer since I was a teenager. And that's why it was natural for me to start this nonprofit because, it exemplified servanthood and community
mm,
service. And so that's something that's always been very important to me. And so my favorite part of being an entrepreneur is helping people,
yes.
just helping people to grow their businesses and showing people that it can be done, even when it feels like they can't, like it's just something
Mhm.
that is elusive. Sometimes people, leave corporate America and they start businesses thinking that it's going to be easy because on social media a lot of people make it look easy, right? um, but
Ooh,
but it's not.
it's
And you
not.
can't depend on social media to do everything you need,
Yes.
to grow your business. And although
Ooh,
it's a great tool,
it
it can help you get a lot of brand awareness being on certain social media platforms. But there comes a time when you still got to get, away from that computer, away from that phone, and get out and meet some people, build good relationships and partnerships. And so for me, it's just the favorite thing that I love to do is change people's lives for the better. And
Mm.
when I am able to do that, whether it's helping somebody grow their business or improve their brand or get their company out there in a bigger way so that they can increase their sales and have more money for their family and have more money for fun and freedom. I love that. That just
Yeah.
juices me up. And, every year with our nonprofit organization, we host the Pinnacle Awards and Scholarship Gala. And we give money away to high school students for college. And these are students that we identify that want to major in STEM,
Yeah.
science, technology, engineering, and math, or either medicine, education, or culinary arts. And we give them $1,000. And then if they are some students who exemplify leadership and they do philanthropy work in high school, well, then they qualify for our Rising Star, and we give scholarships that are $2,000 for those students. So for me, it's one of my favorite things to do. I love giving away money and I love impacting children to be the best that they can be and let
Yeah.
them know that anything is possible. Whatever they dream of is that
Yes.
they can do it as long as they put in the work and do the best job that they can.
You know, you're in a sweet spot because it's important to be able to create these opportunities for thousands of kids, right? Whether it's exposures to the garden, whether it's access to funds for college. I myself, I'm a recipient, right? I won $24,000 cooking competition. I won organizations just pouring into me. But just to let everyone know, if you're in position, you want to set yourself up so that you can be that person to give back, as we're mentioning right now. Now, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received in your journey?
Oh gosh, I've received so much good advice. Just always remember to be kind to people,
Mm,
even if they give you reasons not to be.
mhm.
And that's hard. That's hard. And I think in the
Mm,
day and age that we live in now, people are so short fused, they're so
yeah,
short tempered, and they forget to simply be kind, to
be
simply
kind.
say hello and thank you and welcome, or to hold a door for somebody, or just make somebody feel special with a compliment. And I think that's a great piece of advice, just to be kind and always show kindness and do random acts of kindness, because you never know
Mm,
how that's going to come back to you. And then I would say another piece of advice I got was don't expect people to be like you.
yes.
And um, so whatever that means to you, if you think you're the greatest at whatever it is that you do, and you are expecting somebody else to be as great at that thing as you are, and you get disappointed and let down when they're not, that's because you are expecting you out of people. So you have to meet people where they are, and everybody has their own road of growth and maturity. And so you have to just recognize that you may have gotten to here, but that person is there, so they haven't
Yes.
come up there yet. So you can't judge or criticize them just because they haven't grown to that place yet. You simply have to allow them the space and opportunity to get there when they get there, and
Yes.
and create boundaries for yourself so that you protect yourself
Yes.
at the same time.
Yes, yes. And wow, talk about that grace in that process. Because that awareness that you're talking about, that, okay, I'm here. You have to be aware and mature
Yeah,
enough to
yeah,
understand the levels and how it
yeah,
works.
yeah. And you
Throughout,
you can't look down on people
you
when
can't.
you're here and they're there. And
Yeah.
so it's like, did you have more opportunity? Did you have better mentors? Did you have more
Yeah.
money? Did you have whatever it was? Did you just have more drive and more ambition? Okay,
Yes.
whatever that was, you can't look down at that person, but hey, you
Right.
may not be able to take that person with you. If you're elevating at a faster pace than they are,
Yeah.
you just may not be able to take them with you certain
Yeah.
places, and they may not be able to go.
Yeah.
You're on chapter 10 and they're still on chapter 2. So
Yes.
they can't always go with you. So,
Yeah.
just don't expect you out of that person when, they're not there yet. And so
I
I
love it.
think about that movie. I can't even remember what it was called. The kid was in the backseat going, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" And I know it was Ice Cube, but I can't remember the name of it.
Yes. I
But
think it was called Are We There Yet?
I think it was. But the whole point is, if somebody's not there yet, wherever there is, and you
Yes.
are there, either you're going to help them or you're going to wish them well, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, either way it goes, just don't have too much expectation of people, and that way you won't be disappointed.
Even if you are ascending at a faster pace, like you're saying, you can create opportunities. Sometimes you create opportunities from afar to ensure
Yeah,
that others are gradual. That's that mentor, that's
yeah,
that guidance that you're
yeah,
bringing family members and friends up. So I love that you even thought about that. But back to business too, because business is something, right? So how
yeah,
did you handle the risk taking in business, right? In
yeah.
navigating the different dynamics.
Well, I always look at risks when it comes to my business based upon, is this something that's going to be meaningful to me 3, 5, 10 years from now?
Yeah.
And, if it plays out the way that I think it might play out, is this going to be beneficial to me long term? Or is this just a
Mhm.
short term, hit it and quit it kind of thing that really is not going to matter 3, 5, 10 years or 20 years down the road? And so if it's a risk that I'm willing to take because the long term benefits are going to be advantageous, then hey, I'm gonna go for it every time. But if the risk is that it may not work out, and you know, in the short term, it might
Mhm.
benefit me now, but it's gonna be you know less impactful down the road, then you have to weigh if it really is necessary. And so I'm always the person that likes to sit down and go old school, write down a list of positives and a list of negatives, and
Right.
whichever category is more heavier, if
Yeah.
it's the more positives and more advantageous, then I'm going to go with it. But if it's got a whole bunch of negatives and a whole bunch of disadvantages, then that's a big hint right there that it's not worth the risk.
Right. And being able to weigh the options, right? Pros
Yeah,
and cons.
yeah,
So if you're a high schooler or as a college student paying attention, just know that your decision-making process matters, right? As you
yeah,
mentioned, write it down. Ask questions, ask others. You don't have to make an instant decision without actually navigating and figuring out what's the highest and best decision possible. So you want to have that thought process when you're thinking about it. Now, the last two questions I want to touch on before because I want to ensure that our youth take this to heart. Have you ever on your journey felt like, you know what, it's getting too hard? I feel like giving up. I'm not going to make it. And how did you deal with that feeling if it came about?
oh yeah. I can't even sit here and say that I don't know an entrepreneur who's not wanted to give up at some point in time. And I promise you, if I really don't know, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs,
A lot of them.
I don't know anyone who could say that they never wanted to quit.
Yeah.
Um,
It gets hard.
it gets hard. And so, yeah, I wanted to quit more times than I can count. But more than I wanted to quit, I wanted to succeed. And so your desire has to be so strong, and your passion
Mm,
to succeed has to be so strong. Your ambition has to be strong, and you have to be courageous, right? You don't necessarily have to be brave. You got to be courageous. There is a difference. And
mhm.
so, when you are thinking about how to navigate difficult times and how to get through a rough patch, you have to understand that it's temporary. It will pass and you're going to figure it out, but you got to just sometimes reverse engineer that problem. How did it
Yes.
come about, and what can I do to fix it so it doesn't happen again? And
Yes.
then, excuse me, you got to think about, Every person who is majorly successful has wanted to quit. But if they had quit, where would we be? When I think about legacy, I want people to remember Dr. Lori A. Mans as somebody who cared about other people and who wanted to help people and who actually did help people. I want people to remember me as a servant leader. And I want people to remember me as someone who cared about young people, who cared about children, and tried to do her very best to pour into those young people around me, to empower them towards education, and to be the best they could be, to be leaders of tomorrow, and just be the best they could be.
Yes. Doc, I'm telling you, your journey speaks volumes, especially not only just the wisdom and the insights that you were able to share. I want our youth to take all of them, like watch this again. Watch this 3 or 4 times because there are little hidden gems that I have to pull out individually so that everybody can take. Is there any last minute advice that you would like to share with our youth?
Yeah, I would say make sure that you are vetting your circle. Make sure you have people who are friends of yours who always have your best interest at heart. Because you're going to end up being a product of the people that you hang around, the people that you listen to, and the people that you are mentored by. And so if you're somebody who always is following the crowd and you're not someone who is a leader, then you're going to probably be easily influenced to do something that's going to be beneficial to you or to your future. So always take an inventory of your crowd. That's what I mean when I say vet. Vet your crowd, vet your circle of friends. Make sure that they want to be somebody, that they have plans for their future. You should be thinking about what are your 5-year plans? What are your 10-year plans? And if they don't have any plans, then that's not the person you need to hang around. If they don't know what they want to be when they grow up, if they don't have any ambitions or goals, that's not who you want to be around. So get you a circle of friends who actually have in their mind in high school or college, this is what I plan on doing. And here's how I want to impact my community, or here's how I want to change the world. And when you get around people who have goals and who have ambitions, and they are not trying to go out and break the law, they're not trying to go out and smoke up all the weed that they can, they're not trying to go out and run men or women, but they're just good, solid people.
Yes.
And you're going to be a good, solid person because birds of a feather flock together. And you don't want to be somebody that's in the wrong place at the wrong time and get the wrong thing, right? You want to be the right place in the right place at the right time so you can get the right opportunity so you can have an outstanding future.
Talk to him, Doc. Talk to him, Doc. That is awesome. So I just got to thank you for sharing this wisdom, for showing up, sharing your journey. This was amazing. I can't wait to watch this again myself because there were so many nuggets, and I'm gonna pull them all out. But how can everyone get in contact with you, Doc?
Well, the nonprofit I started, and we're going to be celebrating 15 years. It's called Live Healthy and Thrive Youth Foundation. You can find us at livehealthyandthriveyouth.org. And we're on Instagram and Facebook at LHTYF. And as a business consultant, strategist, and coach, you can definitely connect with me at www.qualitymediaconsultants.com. And I am on LinkedIn under Lori Mans. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at I am Dr. Lori Mans. And that's I am Dr. Lori Mans. And that's how you can find me.
Talk to him, Doc. Thank you again for joining us inside of the boardroom. I can't wait to get this to everyone. And I look forward to connecting with you, right? Live healthy. We got to do some great things together.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot coming into fruition. But this was truly an honor. I just got to tell you for
Thank
taking
you
you.
so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'll see you next time. We'll see y'all next time inside of the boardroom. Y'all have a wonderful day. Y'all take care. Bye bye.